So here's another gentlemanly nugget of knowledge. Gentlemen, we are presented with very conflicting information nowadays. What I mean by that is we're taught as men, don't be controlling, don't be overbearing, and, women have just as many rights as we do, which they do. But on the other side of the spectrum, we're presented with stories. Every time we hear about women that go out for girls' trips or women that go out to the club, and a lot of men don't know how to handle that. A lot of men subscribe to the whole alpha male ideology. A lot of men subscribe to the MGTOW ideology. A lot of men, passport bros and so forth. And I'll be honest with you, I don't subscribe to any of those. I subscribe to the intelligent man concept. And what I mean by that, gentlemen, is you have to recognize those red flags when you see them. And you have to switch your mentality accordingly. We've all heard stories. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that I saw another podcast from another men's advocate, and he was speaking to a male exotic dancer and who had been doing it for years, and he was sharing stories about countless wives and what their behavior was like when their husbands weren't around. And it's very interesting, the difference between men and women, because when, let's say, 3 married men go out to a bar or something, yes, we are all going to talk shit about our wives or girlfriends, and yes, we are all going to look at all the other hot women in the club, and we're going to talk about them, and we're going to talk shit, because that's what guys do. But here's the interesting thing about men. If you have 3 men, and one of them decides to get a little frisky with a woman that he met in a bar and he's married, the other 2 gentlemen will say, hey, what about your wife back home? Maybe you shouldn't do this. The difference in the culture that we live in today, gentlemen, is that women don't do that. If you have 3 women out at the club and one of them is getting a little frisky with a man she met at the club, the other 2 women will say, you go, girl, you get some. Your husband's a piece of shit. He's worthless. You deserve to have a one-night stand. That is, unfortunately, a part of the culture we live in. You can't control it. You can't switch to a different ideology. MGTOW's not going to change that. Passport Bros is not going to change that. But what you have to do as an intelligent gentleman is you have to switch your mentality. Because, gentlemen, if you have a woman, girlfriend, wife, whatever, that repeatedly wants to go out to the club with her girls, or repeatedly wants to take girls' trips without you, well, that is the equivalent of advertising herself as single. And as far as I'm concerned, that's your permission to create a Tinder profile, because that's advertising yourself as single. It's the same thing. Gentlemen, I received an email from a young gentleman. If you'd like to send me an email, or if you'd like to purchase some Gentlemanly Nuggets gear, there are links to both in my profile. Young gentleman told me he's been following my channel since the very beginning. From the Dominican Republic, 22 years old. Been in a relationship with a young girl since he was 18 years old. So 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago. Been with her a long time. At that age, wouldn't surprise me if she was his first. So essentially, they became young adults together. And she became an actress, model, dancer, spent every weekend out at the club with her girls. And, one day he got access to her phone. And she wasn't just cheating with one man. She had him lined up. And it broke his heart. It crushed him. And even worse than that, I guess she had multiple social media outlets because of her profession and was invited to participate in somebody else's social media sort of video or whatever, and was asked a question. Her and all her girlfriends were asked a question while they were out at the club: who has the most friends with benefits? And all of the girls pointed at his girlfriend. Crushing blow. Absolutely crushing. So he dumped her. Good for him. And it's interesting because after he dumped her, of course, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again, and it was a mistake, and take me back," and this and that. And this young gentleman, he's smarter than that. But he wrote me, and he's not going to take her back. He's not going to talk to her. Good for him. But he wrote me, not really with a question, but more with some lessons that he learned about identifying those red flags when you see them. And he ignored them for a long time because he didn't want to be controlling. He didn't want to tell her what she can and can't do. So he let her do whatever she wanted. And, well, we know what happened when he did that. So here's the thing, gentlemen. You can't control them. You can't tell them what to do. You can't prevent them from going out. You can't do anything like that. You don't have that authority over them. But what you do have is a level of intelligence. And when you see those red flags, and when you identify those red flags, not to ignore them, because that's how we end up in 20-year marriages with wives that are constantly cheating on their husbands, and the husbands are afraid to leave. Early in a relationship, if you see those red flags, your brain switches. From that point forward, that woman is no longer worthy of your respect. That woman is no longer worthy of your monogamy. She's no longer worthy of your investment to her. At that point, she's just a fling. Because once she has lost respect for you, you're not going to get it back. She might beg you to come back and tell you lies and reasons why you should take her back, which is actually pretty common. But once she's lost respect, gentlemen, you're not going to get that back. And an intelligent man will switch his brain. He will switch his mentality. And he will recognize her for the low value, low quality woman that she is. A stupid man will ignore it and let it continue to happen. Gentlemen, be smarter than that. Gentlemen, take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health. Take care of your physical health. Take care of your financial health. And take care of your brothers, because no one else will.